Okay, this is part 2 and time for Shandon bells. Okay, time to start painting this. I left this for about 3 hours. It's still wet, but it's kind of started to kind of really stick to the board a little bit better. So I should be able to get some nice clean lines. It still will mix a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. Okay. If you don't know what Shandon bells looks like, I'm going to put a photograph on your screen there for you just to look at, okay? This, just to get the idea of the colouring, all right? So you can see the bottom half is kind of a pinky, a brown grey, pinky kind of a stone. Top is a light grey. So let's have a bit of fun now mixing colours with this. And let's see what we can achieve. Now let me just make sure this is recording and everything is okay. Okay, that's all right. Let's make a start. Just double check. Yeah. Okay, we're looking good. Right, I'm going to start with the bottom half, I think. I would normally start with the top and work down. I might just, I don't know what, let's do that. Let's start at the top. I'm going to mix a nice light grey first for the top half of that, okay? I'm taking a little white, some Naples yellow and a little black, okay? Just a tiny amount of black. And I don't want a very bright colour. You see, the problem is, okay, the problem I have is, I need, let me just stand, I need this to stand out in front of the sky. So I need to make the top half really bright, okay? Just on the light side here. So, there, you see that? So now it stands out against that grey sky. Is that better? There we go. And this will make sense then once I put the darker side on. You'll see the bright side much clearer. So just bear with me now for a moment. Let's just go along and fill in these little squares. Alright. Another one there. And they don't have to be perfect, okay? Now I'm going to start putting the darker side on, but I'm going to just add the hint of a mauve in this shadowy colour, okay? So I'm taking some phaylo blue, a little crimson, and a tiny hint of black. Alright. Now I do want this on sort of the cool side. So I'm not 100% sure yet. Let me just try it and see. A hint of burnt umber perhaps. I want to get like a nice shadowy grey colour but not too dark, because you have to remember it's a bright stone. Okay, it's a very light kind of a grey stone in reality. So I don't want to make this too different on both sides. Let me just take a hint more brown and a hint of white, alright, in that. So I think this may be the one, a kind of a subtle grey, you see? Very subtle grey. I'm just filling this in then just loosely, because I will be going along here with a small detail brush soon. One thing I will say is always, if you're painting structures and buildings, what I see a few people doing, making kind of little mistakes, is not having a shadow on the building. So you might have it, you know, you might have the front of the building and the side of the building, but they're both completely white or they're both just the same colour. Try to make one side slightly darker if you can, because that will give you this 3D effect to look like there's two sides to it. If it's just completely flat all the way across, it'll just look bland and it'll just won't kind of jump out at you. So you need to have a darker side, okay? Even if it's just a plain white building, do have one slightly darker side. Now I'm going to just bring some of this white over into this colour, okay? And I'm going to use some of this then to add a little bit of tone just to this here, alright? Just a little. You see? Now let's fill in our little top piece up here. I'm doing all this very, very loosely, all right? I'm not too worried about getting this absolutely perfect first time, because look, we're going to be going back to this and putting loads of different types of detail in. Now, let me see, can you see everything okay here? Yes, you can. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to put this down and go to a detail brush. And I'm going to start putting in some details, all right? And I'm going to get my stick, my little stick here, so I can lean on. Now, I have the reference photograph here as well, so I can see. And I'm just going to paint some details, just very, very loosely. Okay, I'm taking a slightly darker grey. And for instance, let's just go across the tops of these, okay? Don't worry if it's not completely straight. It's a painting. It's not supposed to be absolutely perfect, okay? Understand? It's just to redefine some of these. Put one or two on this side. Okay, so you can see what I mean. Now I'm going to use some of this darker colour and put some of this darker colour on the side of this up here, okay? And then as it comes across, it's going to lighten. So I'm softening it into the lighter colour then. That makes sense? There we go. Okay, just like that. Now we do have a very long kind of spire up there on top, okay? So just, and then, because I've painted this many times, I know there's a little ball just here. Okay. And then we have the goldfish. Now on the photograph the fish looks like a dark colour, but in reality it's actually like a goldfish. It's a dirty kind of a gold colour. Let's just do that, and a little tail. Okay, it's just a very simple representation. I might take a little burnt sienna, a burnt umber, just give it a little colour. Okay, just like so. Just a little. And we have a little piece underneath that. It's like an X. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in some of the very dark sections, those kind of window type things. All right. I'm going to take some black and some burnt umber, still using the same brush, and I'm going to start putting these in. So I'll start at the top. So we have a nice one up here. One in the middle here. You see, I'm not being perfect with all of these lines. And we have a big one then, which is the main one down here. Like so. Okay. Then we have a little ball up here. It's just like a little port hole type thing. I'm going to make the bottom one slightly broader, okay? No, just like that. And then it's a case of doing the very same on the front of the building. So on the front side over here, let me just get this piece in here a little darker, and I'll put one here. and one. Now because this is narrower, it's not going to have exactly the same shape. It's going to be slightly squeezed, okay, slightly kind of squashed. So you get the idea. There we go. Then I'm going to just start putting in some little details. So we have little break there. We have one here. Okay. Then we have these sort of ornamental features just on the edges. So I'm just going to make a little suggestion of those. You see, it's just a little wiggle of the brush, that's all. So it's just a suggestion, really. That's all I'm doing. Now, we need to add a little kind of effect of stone and brick on this surface, okay? So I'm going to get another brush. Let me see. So many brushes to choose from. But which one do we choose? Okay. I'm going to go for this round one, okay? And I'm going to try this to see what happens. So what I'm going to do is take some slightly darker grey. Okay. And with that, on the shadow side, I'm going to introduce the effect of some bricks, okay? Not bricks, but just rough textured surface. So you can kind of get the idea. Because it's so close up, it's nice to see a little bit of effect of a brick, rather than just having it like a flat colour. So it's just to give it that little impression of a rough, bricky kind of a surface. Okay, just like that, just nice and subtle. And just one or two on the top ones. Okay, and you can keep going with this as much or as little as you like. If you're painting your old building, like a house or something, you could just do something like this. Now I'm going to take some lighter colour, some Naples yellow and white, and I'm going to do the same effect then on the bright side, okay? So Naples yellow and white, and just a little suggestion of little bricks, okay? It's just to give it a little definition, that's all. You won't really see this in reality, but I don't want it just to be like a flat colour, if that makes sense. Now, okay, so I'll just leave that now for a moment. And I'll go back to my small detail brush. And we have lots of little pillars and all that kind of thing going on around here. So I'm going to take some dark grey again. And I'm going to put some, let me see, let me just take a look at this. I'm going to put some nice strong ones here and here. And then we also have one going across here, something like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do then is, there's also something I just forgot to do those two windows there. You're probably screaming at me. Just a hint. Okay. Then I'm going to take some real dark black, okay? And in there, I know there are these little slats going across, like so, you see? Like that. That's fine. Then I'm going to put a dark side. So to give you the effect of the reveal, I'm going to put a dark line here, coming down, okay? And I'm going to put a dark one on the opposite side here. So now you can start to see it to take shape, can't you? Just a little. And this is a very slow process, but it'll be worth it in the end. Alright, a little step down like that there. One there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice light colour around, because we have a nice light kind of a border going around these, okay? Like so. It just sort of sets them off. There we go. Nice and slowly. And you can't really see it in the lighter one, but I'm just going to put it in anyway. And shaky hands are not good for this kind of work. My hands are getting pretty shaky as time goes on anyway. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of light up here as well. Catching the light. Okay, just a little, you see? So, let me now just stand back for a moment and take a look at how that's coming on. That's coming on quite nicely now, isn't it? That's not half bad. You can't see the fish. There we go. Little fish up there. Now I'm going to move on, and actually one thing I meant to do was, this line here has to come down slightly, doesn't it? In order to give it that moving away feeling, moving away into the distance. All right, let's move on and do the second half down here. We can come back to all these kind of things then later on, okay? So I want to get a nice pinky browny kind of a colour. So let's have a look and see what we can mix. I'm going to try, I don't know if you can see my palette now or not. I'm going to try a little crimson, little burnt umber, and then some black, I would say. Little black, and then into that I'm going to put a hint of Naples yellow, and that makes it lovely and sort of chalky and creamy, and it's that pinky brown kind of a colour that I'm trying to get. Let me take a look. That's not bad. So what I'll take a hint of sienna, maybe just to warm it ever so slightly. Yep, I think that's good. So I'm going to go with that colour, and I'm going to just fill this in. And I put this, I think, on the shadow side. Okay? So I'm going to come down here and cut into my sky ever so slightly, just to get a nice clean line down there. Again, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, okay? Let's fill this in. All right, looking good. Then I'm going to get a smaller brush, okay? and I'm going to create a brick effect on this with perhaps a hint of Naples yellow in that mix. So we have a slightly lighter kind of a shade, okay? And then look, I'll just go along and touch it like that. Just dab, 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 dab here and there. Again, just creating a little texture on the wall. So it's not just, again, a flat colour, okay? So you can kind of see it now coming together. You see how this colour really pops up out of the mist, and it'll be a beautiful accent colour for a wall. Okay, and I'm going to go darker then down towards the bottom, so I'm going to mix a lovely dark mauve, okay? A nice rich mauve, lots of red in this, so a nice deep kind of a purple, and I'm going to start putting that in towards the bottom. Look at that, isn't that lovely? And allow it to kind of mix in with that nice reddy brown colour as well, and then let it sort of dissipate as it comes up, let it sort of disappear into that brown colour. So now we've a lovely kind of a transition from that down into a dark shadowy colour. Isn't that lovely? Now there seems to be something with the camera, it's like everything is falling at a slight angle. So I'm going to move the camera just slightly to one side in the hope that you can see it more kind of straight. I hope that's better. So what I'm going to do then is, I'm going to do the very same with the top. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, a little crimson, and I'm going to introduce this wonderful colour, kind of a pinky colour, just here and there from the top, look, just to give a bit more light, catching the walls up on top. So this lovely transition from a light kind of a colour down to a dark, deep colour is really, really nice. And I might even take a little hint of black, right? And put even the tiniest hint of black down here as well. To give us that really, it's really kind of a dirty sort of a wall coming down towards the end. You see, does that make a bit more sense? So, making it just feel a bit more realistic. So on to the bright side. I'll take a clean brush for this side, I think, and I'm going to make a nice bright mix of that colour. So let's try some crimson, okay? Some Naples yellow. I'm going to take plenty of white. Now, we don't want this too pinky, so I'm going to take some burnt umber in this. So it's a nice kind of a light pinky sort of a brown, okay? Let me try that. Yeah, let's take a hint of white and maybe more Naples yellow. And we're not far off. That's lovely, I'll go with that. So I'll give that colour over here. Bring it straight down. There we go, and that lovely. Really lovely colours, I must say. And I wouldn't worry about the lines being perfectly straight, okay, because we can adjust all of these as we need to. Alright. Okay. Right, now, and what I'm going to do then is, I'm looking at the lines, you see. So, what I can see is, this line needs to come up ever so slightly. Alright, so I'm going to bring this line slightly higher here. And just down ever so slightly at a slight angle, okay? And then, I'm going to bring the other line down here. So we have a slightly better perspective. Okay, slightly better. So it's time now to give this some texture as well. And I'm going to go with a slightly lighter colour. Let's take a bit of white actually. I'll take a bit of white and some Naples yellow. I'm going to put a hint, it's a kind of a hint of a grey, very subtle grey. And I'm going to just go, even with the side of the brush, look just like that. Just to give the impression of the bricks. It's just an impression, okay? You can, you know, if you're the type of artist who loves to paint each individual brick and all that kind of stuff, then you can do that. But I like to keep it just nice and simple. And just an impression. I think it looks much more natural and much more like a painting if it's just an impression of a scene. Alright, like that. And I may go even lighter, slightly higher up, like what we did earlier. Take some Naples yellow and some white. And we say this corner up here. Add some nice light up there. And then let that dance around. And we'll make it slightly darker then as it comes down. So I might take some of the purpley colour with a hint of burnt umber. So a nice warm brown. And soften that up. Okay. And all these colours are mixing together, which is perfect, which is exactly what I want. You see, a nice little transition of colours going up and down on the face of the wall. Lovely. I'm very happy with that. Now, one thing we do have is, on the edges, we have a nice light grey kind of a border, okay, on the edges. So I'm going to do all this first before I start painting the clock and all that kind of stuff. So, let me get, in fact, I think I missed one little section. There's a small section up on top as well. I think I missed it. It steps in a little here. Like that. Then the darker side on this side. Like so. Now I'll just fix that. Add a little bit of detail here and there. Just straighten some of the edges. Okay. And I'm going to take a little tiny amount of black, slightly thinned out black. Darken this one across. There. So what we then have is, I'm going to take some white, so very, very light grey, and I'm going to put in this little area here which steps down and goes across. That's where people stand and view the city. Okay? It's like a little piece of lead that goes across. And if you're interested in having something like this, I can commission another one for you in any size you like. Okay? If this is the type of thing that you might like to have, I can do another one similar to this in a different size. Now let's take a nice light grey, and I'm going to go in under here. Okay. Same on the other side. Then I'm going to start putting in the suggestion of the bricks along the corners, all right? So what I'm going to do is basically stagger little marks like this. Just nice and simple. Okay, that's that one. And we have a few. There's some on the other side, but you can't hardly notice them. They're not very, very noticeable. Do you understand what I mean? And we've some then on that dark side. Just a little suggestion, that's all. Okay, we're going on nicely now, aren't we? I'm going to suggest, while I have this paint, the light grey colour of the lead on the roof over here, coming up and then returning back down like that. All right. And we also have actually a little shadow under this. And it comes out slightly proud past the edge, doesn't it? A little bit more here. Okay. How is this looking so far? We are getting there very, very slowly. Very slowly, but we're getting there. And look, we have all the time in the world. There's no rush. And a little burnt umber up there, just to introduce a little colour into that. And I'm going to add another little bit of black to these. Okay. I might even add a little hint of Naples yellow to one or two of these lights here, okay? It might be just catching some light, that's all. Just a hint, you see? A tiny, tiny, tiny hint. Moving on, I'm going to put in the clock. But first we need to find the point where the clock, where the center of this building, okay, for the clock. We need to find that point. I'm going to use some of that light grey again. And it's about halfway up, isn't it? I'm going to go around here. All right, like that, and a slight angle on the opposite side, like that. I need to just adjust the angle of the other one. It's slightly high on one side. Okay, that's a little better. And then I'm going to take a big round brush and lots of black, pure black. And I'm going to put in the clock face on these two sides. Now it'll be tricky to get this just right, so bear with me. Drawing a perfect circle is much more difficult than you think. That's just my opinion. But again, this is a painting, so it doesn't need to be a perfect circle. Sure it doesn't. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. It's just that little bit more proud, isn't it? Come on, let's give it a real presence on the wall. That's a little better now, isn't it? And the opposite side then is going to be slightly oblong, okay? So it's like kind of an egg shape. Okay, because you're looking at it at a slight angle. Does that make sense? All right, maybe a little bit wider, slightly. Now there. Ooh. I need to take a breath after that. If I made a mess of that, we'd be in all sorts of trouble. Okay, now you see this is still recording away nicely. Let's now put in these sections on top here. Okay, and I always like to start off slightly smaller because you can add to it easily, but it's very difficult to make it smaller if you go too big too soon. So I go a little bit wider now, and a little bit higher, just to get the scale, you know, just right. We go the same on this, and this will be narrower, okay? Because it's what they call being foreshortened. So if you look at the flower slightly sideways, the petals are foreshortened because they're going into the distance. Okay, does that make sense? Right, I'll put that down and get my small detail brush, and I'm going to put some nice lights in there. And let's go lots of these little pieces going across, catching the light, and we put some on the other side. Okay, then we have a very bright grey surrounding those, don't we? Let's get a nice bright grey for those. Nice and carefully paint that in. So I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're getting some hints and tips, because that is my aim at the end of the day, just to help you along and to help you just even become inspired to paint, because it's so much fun, it really is. Now, okay, there we go. Okay, my apologies for the camera running out of storage space. You just missed me when I was painting these little numbers here. I just took a pointy brush with some Naples yellow and put a few little dots. That's all. A couple of little Naples yellow dots around, just to suggest the numbers and the hands. Okay, just nice and simple. Okay, moving on. I'm going to do the roof. Alright, I'm going to mix a nice dark grey now for the roof. See, there's a lot of work in this, isn't there? It takes quite a while. It really does. So I'm going to take some black, and I take a little bit of white, perhaps a touch of phaylo blue, because it's a nice dark slate kind of a colour. Okay, let me just try this now. I don't want to go too dark, not too dark. A little bit more blue and a little more white, and take a look at that. That may be a little cool, a little kind of on the green side, so I'm going to add a touch of crimson into this. Let me try this. That's not bad, we're getting there, and it's just slight adjustments of colour as we go. Okay, now the roof comes out like this. And let's fill this in. Let's just paint all of this. And we have another roof adjoining this then, you see. So this is a little extension that comes out from this building here, this main building. It'll all make sense to you now once I start painting it, okay? So I'm putting my brush strokes in the direction of the roof. All right, always follow the direction of what you're painting. If it's a river, well, not a river, but you know, if it's a roof or if it's grass or mountains, that kind of stuff, always follow the direction of your brush. Just makes it much easier. And then I'm going to perhaps lighten it slightly for this one here. Okay, so this is a separate roof now adjoining that. just like so. And the only reason I'm making it slightly lighter is just to show that it's a separate roof. Because if you make it the same color, it might tend to just sort of disappear and look like one roof. So I'm going to just add a little darkness here and just, you see, let that then just fizzle out, thus creating a nice light to dark tone. I'm going to take some burnt umber and black, and I'm going to go up to this one and just add a little darkness in here. Okay. And then let that sort of dissipate out as well. So it's all just about creating different lights and darks. So what I'll do then as well is I'm going to add some light to this one. So I'll take a little phthalo blue, lots of white, okay, and I'm going to add a hint of light to this side here, okay, and then let that disappear as it goes in as well. So now you can see we have these lovely lights and darks coming into play, don't we? And I'm just going to suggest a nice light grey coming down here. That's a bit blue for me. Let's just take a little hint of a light colour just to show this side of the roof, okay? And I'll do the same with the darker colour on this side. So I'll put a little dark here first just to define the edge of that, then a little dark coming down like that. Okay, so that's that one finished. We're on to the walls, and the walls are similar to colour to this. It's just the very same. Okay, I'll take a little crimson, a little burnt umber and black, then a little Naples yellow. And let me just try this first. Okay, I'll go with that for the dark side. I think that'll make a nice shadow side. And I'm going to do the same. Let me just take a hint more crimson with a touch of sienna. Okay, I just want to warm it ever so slightly. Okay, the sienna will just warm it a little tiny bit. Let's fill this side in here. And don't worry, I'm not going all the way down with this because I'm going to have a lovely mist coming up into this. Alright, so this building is going to disappear into the mist down underneath. Let me just mix a bit more. Crimson, sienna, burnt umber. Now I only need to go that far, alright? And then again, I'll lighten it for this side. So a slightly lighter colour, Naples yellow, little hint of crimson, maybe a little hint of white. And it's a slightly lighter sandy kind of a colour. There's a hint of pink in it. Now this comes up like that, alright? And this type of painting is a real pleasure to do. It's just really, I'm keeping it simple. It's just a real pleasure to paint. Now I'm going to add some light from this side coming in, okay? You see what I mean? And then we have our light side here. I keep checking to make sure this is still recording. It's still recording, that's great. Technology, you know, it's so unpredictable these days. It really, really is. All right. Now, nice light color for this. Fill that in. This MDF really, you know, it's just a joy to paint on. It really is. It's just so wonderful. All right, let's take some lighter shades and I'm going to just add more lighter color into this. Soften it back, and where they meet, kind of just merge them ever so gently together. Then I'm going to put some dark in here. So again, using some tone to create a slightly darker area in here, okay? And then letting that soften outwards. You see? I'll do the same with the back. Let's go up here and I'm going to darken this side ever so slightly. So I'm now going to get, again, my small brush and just start, you know, suggesting little hints of the brickwork. So again, let's take some sienna, some crimson, burnt umber, little black, and with that dark, nice warm dark colour, I'm going to just suggest, look, starting with the dark colour in by the dark area, letting that soften outwards, like so. Okay, I'll do the same with this one. And I'll do the same with this one. I'll make that a little darker actually. I'll take a little black on my brush and just add that in there. And it's mixing with the colour that's already there, which is great, okay? So you end up with all these different colours, lights and darks, kind of mixing together on the board or canvas, and it just really brings a building to life. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do the very same now with some lighter colour, some Naples yellow. I'll mix some Naples yellow into that even, and I'm going to put some lighter shades. You see? Some nice lighter shades through here and there. It's just a nice, easy, effective way of creating the impression of brickwork, okay? Or a stone wall or something like that. It just adds a little touch of detail to the wall, that's all. Of course, you could keep going on and on and on and on with this for as long as you wish, really. But I just want to simplify the scene. It's all about the clock tower, okay? For me, I want that to be the focal point of the entire painting. So that's fine for now. I'll take a little pointy brush and some black with some burnt umber and just go in under, give this a bit of shade, and just I'm defining some of the lines. So this roof now, it turns here, you see, goes up and across. Okay, that's the way the roof goes, and we'll have a dark under here, a dark across there. There's one thing that I have to do, and that's just to bring this line across a little bit more. Okay. Just like so. And then we have a little reveal in here, a little corner coming down, little corner coming down there. perhaps suggest a little darkness just there. It's just to define all these little lines, okay? Under the roof here and the opposite side as well. All right. And I'm going to look at the reference photograph. We have a lovely window on this end over here. So I'm going to mix a nice rich colour for this. I'll take some blue, some crimson, and a hint of black, I think. So I'm going to go nice, a deep, deep violet, okay? Like that. And then it comes around like that, all right? Now what I'm going to do then is to suggest a little light catching this. Just some blue and some white. Okay, just like so. That's all, just nice and simple. Then just a little detail around the window frame. Okay, and then let me fix my tissue. A nice bright light. That's a kind of a nice grey, okay? A nice light grey just around that. And there is a nice light grey there on the reference photograph. Nice bright grey. That may be a little too bright. Let me just dim it down ever so slightly. And I suggest a few little uprights of the frame, okay? And one or two across. Little windows. Just a very, very simple suggestion. That's all I want. Now we have a little doorway here, which I need to put in. I'm going to take some darker colour, and it's just a little doorway at the back. Again, just simple. Keep it simple. Let's take a little black and just sit that in there a little bit better, and suggest little bits and pieces just to make it a little kind of dirty looking, that kind of old building feel. Then pop a little colour, little grey here, little doorknob, that kind of thing, you see, just to sort of lift it slightly. Now we have another window on this side here, so I'm going to do the same thing. Take some white, little of the phthalo blue, a little pink, and suggest a little window here. All right, like so. Then again, I'll take a little darker colour, pop some darks in here and there. So you can see now how quickly I'm doing. Like I'm not going fast, but I just want to keep it loose. Understand? I just want to keep it all nice and loose. That's the point. Now let's go over the nice dark reveal along the side of this. And then, actually, as I have it here, I'll put a bit up there. A little touch of it there. I'll take a little grey and suggest a lead where these two roofs meet. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to, let me see, take another bit of light grey and go around this one. All the work was in this building, okay? All the work was in Shandon Bells. The rest of the painting is fairly straightforward, but this is where all the work is at. And I just want to get it nice. I'm going to add a little light colour here and there. And that, perhaps a little there. Maybe a little just there. just maybe catching some sunlight or something. Again, just to add a little bit of interest to it. And let me see, I'm going to take a little touch of dark colour, a dark bluey black, and go along the top of this. Okay. I also see some bright colour along the edge of this. So again, it may be some flashing or a bit of lead or something like that, just along the edges. You see? I'll do the same with this side over here. That's fine. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get a big brush and put lots of lovely mist down in here. So here we go now with the mist. Let me make sure this is still recording. Yes, that is wonderful. Recording nicely. I'm going to take my big flat brush and take lots of white, and let's take a bit of Naples yellow, and I'm going to go down under here and soften this across. Now watch what happens, okay? Watch this now. Let's put this mist up in and pull that colour down. Look, I'm dragging all the colours down into that lovely mist. Look at that, isn't that just wonderful? I'll soften it lightly as I get out, okay? Because I don't want to drag those colours too far out. Go along here, go right in, look at that. Okay, when you get to the edge, stop again, reload your brush with some fresh misty colour, and look at that. Soften that right in, creating a beautiful soft misty feel down at the end of this building. Isn't this just one? Look at that. This is fantastic. That's exactly the type of feeling I was trying to get. Now before I go any further, I'm going to take my soft blender brush and very gently soften that downwards, okay, into the mist, pulling the colours down into the mist. Look, see how that's just making it lovely and soft, getting rid of those little brush strokes. And then let's just kind of soften this very gently away. Look at that. How wonderful is that? So let's continue on with our lovely mistiness, our lovely fogginess. Bring it on right down here. And the beauty of oil painting is that it's still wet and you can soften many colours together. Even after a couple of hours, you can still come back and soften all these colours together. Isn't that just wonderful? So James, I hope you're happy with this so far. I think this is absolutely stunning. Absolutely just stunning. Probably one of my favourites for a long time. There we go. Let's bring a bit right down. So let me see now if you can. I better start zooming back slightly so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay. If I can. And pull that down just a touch. Okay. There we go. And I'll continue on. Lovely mist coming down. And could you just imagine this big painting now up over a big couch in a living room, somebody's living room, just standing proud, Shandon Bells. And this is one that I really will be proud of, I must say. So now I'm just going to go along and you get the general idea. See, I'm just going to soften everything in with my blender brush, just very lightly. And when I say blender brush, it's my wife's powder brush, let's be honest about it. I'm not gonna lie on camera, it's my wife's blender brush, but she has plenty and she said it was okay. So I did ask, don't worry, that's the most important part. Do ask beforehand. Because if you don't, on your head be it. Isn't that right, lads? On your head be it. Now, just fill this mist in for now, all the way down here, and then we'll have a look and see what we're going to do next. Might do a couple of chimney tops and that kind of thing, just at the front. Then again, I don't know if it needs it. You know, it might spoil what we have. So you really need to be careful with something like this. I don't want to spoil what we already have here, because it looks so wonderful. But I'm just going to fill this in for now and just step back, then we'll take a look, okay? Let me move the camera to that side, just for yourselves. And we'll fill this in. Just a simple grey, black and white. Then pick up some white again with some Naples yellow. And twist that right through all the way. Let's create some wonderful mist again. Isn't this just fabulous? Now I'm going to light it some more down here, just here and there. You have to give it that misty feel. So a little bit of lighter colours, a little bit of dark. And okay, I think it's time to zoom back and take a look at this. I'll decide then whether I should put some chimney tops or some impression of some roofs or something in. You know, I don't want to spoil it. So I shall stop what I'm doing and I'm going to zoom in, or zoom back should I say, and take a look at what we have all together. Let me just pop this mount off this camera just for a moment, and there we go. So what do we think? It does need something, I think. I might put the impression of some little wall or something, perhaps even one or two trees coming up out of the mist. I'm thinking one or two trees might be nice, because there is some trees here and there. I think that's what I'll do, and I'll call it done. So I'm going to take some burnt umber, little black, and I'm going to suggest some trees. I'm going to put one just here, look, coming up out of the mist. And perhaps there's a little ditch. I know there's a kind of a wall or a ditch that comes along here. So maybe even just that might be enough. And then take a little white and soften them down into that lovely mist. That might not be too bad at all. Okay. And I think there we are. One beautiful painting of Shandon Bells finished. I will add little details to this, a few extra little things, but in general, that's it, my friends. Shandon Bells, a big wide format, 4 foot by 2 foot, and that's it. Now, thank you so much for watching. That was so much fun. I still have a lot to do, just touching up little parts, As I said, add 1 or 2 little maybe chimney tops or something like that. But in general, I'm very happy with this. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a big tutorial. There's still yet a lot to do. So look, I hope you've gotten some hints and tips from this. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. You're missing so much fun. Thank you and God bless. I'll see you next week for another tutorial. Happy painting.